Hello everyone, good evening. I hope I'm pretty much audible as well as visible. Okay, just a quick hi or hello in the chat, guys, if we are here together. So today we will be actually going through the details of Python implementation on notebooks. So yesterday, if you in the last class specifically, if you remember, we were talking about the concepts of Python, and we introduced a lot of new things there, where we talked about what is Python and where it has been evolved from, what are the practical applications of Python. And we also talked about a lot of different skills, like a lot of different things in Python. Specifically, we started towards variables, and then we talked about different data types, and then how exactly these are defined in Python. So we have been talking around all of these things. And obviously, so since we're talking about this from a theory perspective, so today I'm going to give you a basic refresher of all of those things, and then eventually we'll move towards the practical implementation of Python. So that's pretty much the agenda is. And today I will be focusing on the notebook, which is again one of the IDEs on which you can write your Python codes. So Jupyter Notebook is one of the a truly available IDE where you can write your codes very easily. Likewise, it's not only limited to notebook, guys. We have, as I've told you, we have multiple different IDEs, and that is the beauty of Python. So it is purely up to your own comfort level. I can probably use VS Code, PyCharm, or Spider, depending on my own comfort level. The reason why notebook is more popular in this area is because notebooks gives you cell level execution, where I can run one piece of code independently without any hassle. So that is why it becomes very useful for at least the data analysis jobs. But again, in fact, I'll show you around the environment of notebook as well, so that you become comfortable with that. And then that's definitely going to be the agenda. Okay, so that's where we stand today, and we will be doing the practical implementation of Python on notebook. So all those topics, all those concepts, so which we covered in our last class, practically we will be doing all of them today on notebook. So that's pretty much what the agenda is, guys. So let's get started. And as always, before getting started, I'll introduce myself. My name is Arpit Jain, and the reason why I'm here with you guys, because data science is what my passion is, and I really like sharing my expertise with everybody. And on the technical front, I do have around 10 plus years of industrial experience in analytics, working with multiple different organizations. And along with that, I also am pretty much a motivational speaker. So I do talk to students regarding their career, job, placement. So anything in general, also always feel free to reach out. And as I've said, as you're aware, also it's pretty much a live session. So we are going pretty much live here. I'm also monitoring the chat, so you can shoot up your questions, and then I'll try to answer them one by one, so as it comes. Cool. So moving ahead, today's agenda is prominently towards the introduction of Python. So if you remember, I still talked about few salient features of Python. So I talked about Python being open source. By open source, I mean it's free. Then I talked about Python being having the support of libraries, or I can say the community support, where I have a huge community from where I can get support from. And it is very good, definitely in multiple different places. So it is multi-objective usage. I can find the usage of Python in almost everywhere. I can do the web development, I can do the backend development. Definitely data science is one of the things which is where Python is prominently being used. And likewise, game development, a lot of many places Python finds its usage. And interestingly, on top of this, Python is very simple and very readable. So syntax wise, it is very simple. Like any other coding language, it is very simple to learn, and it is very readable in terms of codes also. So if I have to read something, the code becomes very easy to be read by anyone. So anyone can easily literally read the codes like an English sentence. It becomes very comfortable to anybody like that perspective. So codes are very simple and readable here. And that is where the basic salient features of Python lies. And on top of this Python, if you remember from the technical front, we talked about few important things here. So we talked about what are variables. So variables we talked about basically a kind of a method in which we store the values, and I'm going to show you around also. We talked about certain 5 rules here to create those variables. I'm going to show you from the codes also. And then we talked about the data types, if you remember. So in the data types, we talked about numeric, we talked about string, we talked about Boolean, and then there are certain advanced data types that includes list, tuples, dictionary, we talked about set. So all of these things are pretty much type of data what Python supports. So there are different types of data which Python supports, and obviously each one of them has their own respective usages and its own application. So we will be going through each one of them one by one. Okay, so that's pretty much what we had as part of our discussion in our last class. So now what I'll do is I'll jump to the notebook, and I would want to show you the things one by one on the notebook, rather talking from practically on the Python perspective, on the probably on the note here in the PPTs. Let's try to do it on the notebook. So I'm going to show you the notebook. Just give me a minute. I'm sharing my screen here. Just a minute, guys. I'm just sharing my screen. So I'll quickly do that. Yeah, I'm just uploading the file. Yeah, so I hope my screen is visible. So now let's try to understand the different salient features of Python. So if you remember, we talked about multiple different things, but again, even before starting, let me just quickly tell you the few basic workaround of Python. So on the top, if you could see, what do we have? The name of my notebook. So can you see here, intro to Python is the name of my notebook. I can quickly click on this, and the moment I click, I have the option to change this also. I can rename it. Probably I want to write, say, introduction to Python. Yes, done. Rename. Now this notebook has been renamed to introduction to Python. So on the top, you can see the name of your notebook, and then post this here. You can see the options, more like also called as toolbox, file menus here. So I have multiple different options. So if you click on file, so you'll get all the options from where you can play with the files, probably how to open a notebook, how to save a notebook, how to download this notebook as, and then you have an option of edit. So edit gives you the option to play with the cells. What are these cells? So here, if you can see the environment, can you see this? So I have multiple different cells here. So this one code block which you are seeing within is pretty much a cell here, another cell, another cell, another cell. So I get cell level execution in Python that makes it very good in terms of the usage perspective. That's pretty much what I was saying. So it gives you cell level execution. That is something which is one of the salient features of Python we have, and in notebook specifically. And here in each cell, I can run a code block, whatever I want to execute. So this will execute only this piece of code, whatever I have mentioned in my cell. And that cell level manipulation, like cutting the cell, I want to add or copy some cells, delete it, move up and down. So all of this can be done with edit options. Likewise, we have view, insert, we can insert the cell above and below. Cell level executions, like I want to run all the cells or one cell. So all of these pretty much what I'll get in the options here on top. And then below you can see some toolbox. So if you just hover your mouse over this, you will get the name of your function. So basically, what does it do? So I have save and checkpoint. So this file simply shows that if I'm going to click it, it is going to save my data points. You can see this a few seconds ago. So my notebook got just quickly saved right now. Plus, it is going to insert new cells, copy, paste, up and down. So all of these pretty much you can play around with the workspace of Python here. So that is prominently going to show you different things which helps to add the details of my notebook in terms of the Python codes which we want to run. Okay, so now let's start from the discussion, the technical points of view in Python. So very first thing which we need to understand is, so whenever we write a piece of code, we generally have a tendency to write comments. So comments in Python are nothing but maybe a description of my code. So a description of my code, this is what I'm trying to write. So I'm trying to show, I'm trying to tell the people whosoever is going to read my codes, like what is an objective of that piece of line which I'm writing. For example, I'm going to say that I want to do 2 plus 2. So, and I'm seeing the output as 4. So basically, the code which I'm trying to run is, I'm here doing adding two numbers. So this adding two numbers as an English sentence is basically the description of my work which is happening. So it is just to show what exactly is being happening here. And by that, comments can be further subdivided into two parts. First is a single line comment, and second is multi-line comment. So single line comment is something which is written using hash. So this is something which is written using hash like this. So can you see this? So single line comments are done using hash. So hash is the keyword which is helping us to write the comments. Can you see this? The moment I wrote hash, everything turned green. That shows that, and in fact also a very good thing about Python is most of the variables or whatever you are seeing is color coded. For example, comments is color coded in green, right? So the moment we have a comment here, it will be by default shown as green here. That's pretty much what the output shows here as a single line of comment. And suppose the same thing got pretty much extended in multiple different lines. Suppose that I have a Word document or a paragraph, say my name is, or maybe this code. So this code talks about the addition of two numbers, okay, and then full stop, another line, and in these any value can be passed and function can process the addition. It can be further improved. Okay, so I have these texts pretty much coming here, which I'm writing for the code part. Still the same code, 2 plus 2 only. Look at this. The code is still same, 2 plus 2, but I am writing a full paragraph for this, right? So a situation where now instead of having one line of comment, I'm having multiple lines of comment. So for this situation, I have to use triple quotes. So by triple quotes, I mean this. So, sorry, my bad. I think I have to convert it back to code. Yeah. So this is how I'm going to write the triple quotes. So either a single triple quote, or I can also use this double triple quote. So doubles also can be passed. I can simply copy this inside this double triple quotes, and this is also fine. So basically what is happening is, now I'm writing the entire paragraph inside the double quotes. Can you see this? 3 times I'm using this double quotes, or 3 times I'm using this triple single quotes to write everything. So whatever passes inside this triple quote becomes as my comment. So either thing is fine. For a single line comments, I can use hash, or for multiple lines comment, I can use the triple quotes. And this triple quotes could be for, I can either use a double quote for this, or I can use a single quote also for this. That is also fine. So that is how I'm going to write the comments to show the descriptor of the job which I'm trying to perform here. Okay. Moving ahead in Python, the very next thing which is very important for us to understand the types of errors we have. So again, in Python, there are prominently 2 types of errors. Okay. First is a syntax error. So by syntax error, I mean there is some issue with the way I'm writing the code. So basically some issue with the syntax of code. And syntax is what? Basically the way I'm writing the code, right? So for example, I say that I want to print my name. So print, say my name is Arpit Jain. Okay. So print is one of those functions which prints the output, whatever we have. And I want to print, I want to say that my name is Arpit Jain. Or I want to say that simple, hello world. Let's keep it simple. So hello world is what I'm trying to print. Now, in Python, we know that we have strings as well, and strings are given using quotes. So basically, whatever passes under quotes is been termed as strings. Now, suppose that this string does not get closed here. If something has started, it has to end also here, which is like this, right? So that shows that this part is red, that means it is string, and the outer green parenthesis is basically where the function is getting ended, right? But what if I remove this quote from here? Can you see this? This string which is getting started here, it is not getting ended. So the compiler does not know where the string is getting ended. So basically it's a syntax error. So, and can you read the error here? And can you see this? It is showing the place exactly where the error is. So errors in Python is very, very, very good, where it shows the clear picture of where exactly you are getting the problem, where exactly the error is. So with this, you are able to see that the quotes which is missing here is giving me the error. And the error also says end of EOL while scanning the string literal. That means while it was scanning for the string literal, it got the error at end of line. EOL is end of line. So I do not have an end of line basically here. It is not able to find the end of the string literal. Very clear answers. One of the syntax error in which I am having error in the way I am writing the code. And how I'm executing this? I can write any code. I can run a play button like this, or I can also press Control Enter. Even that is fine. To run the code, I can go to this cell. I can click on this run, or I can do Control Enter also. That is also fine. The next is runtime error. So runtime error is nothing but where at the time of execution I get some error. So basically error at the time of execution. So what does it mean? Now suppose that I'm running the same thing, print, the correct version is hello world. Now suppose I remove this entire string here. So remove this entire string part. Now can you see this? Earlier it was red the moment we initialized the quotes, basically identifying it as string. But the moment we remove this quotes, now this has turned black. Can you see this? And this turned black, that means now this is getting identified as a variable. So this is now getting identified as variable, which is actually wrong. So, and as you know, variable is nothing but a place where I'm storing some values for future identifications. So here in this case, now it is getting identified as a variable. If I run this, now can you see this? The problem is now we will be getting the error where it says I do not have the right values in this case. If I try to find out this, suppose if I try to find out this hello, if I try to find out this world, this hello or the world does not exist here. Can you see this? The name error which says name hello is not defined. I am not able to find this word hello here. The hello is not defined. I do not have hello available with me. So it is pretty much a runtime error where I am getting the issue with the word itself. It is not able to identify this because if we have not defined hello, it is not defined. And since it is not a syntax, so no definition for hello available. That's where I get the execution error while I run this code. Okay, so these are two types of errors which we generally see in Python. Post that, now moving ahead, apart from this, in Python, something which we have to truly understand, everything is basically a statement. By that, what do I mean? Always remember, Python does line by line execution. That is something which is very important. So Python always does line by line execution. I'll show you that. Now suppose I have a statement, say print 1, print hello, and then I print say A. So here 1 is a number, this will get printed, and I'm printing hello, this is also fine, and then I'm printing A. So A here, since I'm not passing it as a string, it is getting identified as a variable. And now can you see this? Once you run it, it is able to execute the first line, the second line, and I'm getting the outputs here 1 and hello, and it got error in the third line where it says name A is not defined. So basically, if you understood, it is doing the line by line execution. It will run everything, whatever it is able to run from every single line. But the moment it got error, it will just break out of that. For example, now suppose let's write few more sentences. Print 2, print world, right? So basically now these two definitely will get executed, but I know that I am going to get an error here, but even these two are valid. Print 2 and print world are also valid. This can get printed, right? But even now when you run this, the execution actually stopped at the place where it got the error. It's pretty much a statement, a line by line execution of my codes. So whichever part of the code can get executed here, 1 and hello, this is absolutely fine. And then wherever it gets an error, it will just fail out. So it got an error here at print A part where it is definitely saying that name A is not defined. So print A, it got an error here, but it was able to execute the first two lines, but the next two lines, which was still valid, it was not executed because the execution itself got stopped at print A the moment it got an error. Okay. So very interesting part of Python is, guys, always remember it's a line by line execution process. Okay. Post this. Now, interestingly, if you remember in Python, I also talked about that we do have certain keywords. So when we start creating the variables, I told you one of the rules where I'm not allowed to use the reserved keywords. So what are these keywords? So keywords in Python, guys, are certain already predefined words which has its own meaning. Okay, like for example, say try, except, def, if, else, break. So these all are predefined words which has its own predefined meanings. So for example, if I have to tell you, so if I simply run this help function, help on this keywords, let's try to read the documentation of it. The moment I run this, can you see, I'll get the list of which cannot, it is other purpose. That's pretty much what keywords here is. Can you see this? False, break, for, not, or, pass, raise, return, global, if, import, all are my reserved keywords which has its own predefined meaning. And if I want to learn anything about any of them, I can do that. That is also practically possible. That can be done. So, but for that, we have to go through each one of them one by one, and we have to identify the meaning of them one by one. So for example, I want to see the meaning of help. I say break. Now can you see this? If I pass break under this, so I'll get a document of the break command, and it'll give me the details of this break. So how exactly this break is used, what is the purpose of this break statement, and whatnot. So basically, I can get the details of all of these predefined values the moment I pass it under the help function. So that's pretty much what it does. So that's how the keywords are getting used. So it's a list of all the reserved keywords which I cannot use as part of the creation of my variables. Okay. The next very interesting thing is now variables. So we have been talking about variables a lot, right? So yes, in Python, interestingly, again, one more property is, unlike any other coding platforms where I need to initialize the variables at the time of my code start itself, but in Python, it is not a mandatory requirement. I can just call a new variable any place in my code whenever I want. It is absolutely possible. So how can we do that? So for this variables now, suppose I say ABC. So how do we do that? So there are two sides to it. First, I have to write the variable name, and then you have to put an equal to mark, and then I can assign any variable I want to this. So the very first rules, and then the assigning of my variables also has multiple criteria. First, so I've been talking about 5 rules. The first rule is I have to use, so alphabets or underscore can only be used in beginning. So while writing the variables, I have to make sure that the first character of my variable is either an alphabet or an underscore. So for example, I can write the variable name as a variable like this, and I can put this as 1, 2, 3. So this variable is going to have 1, 2, 3 in my input. So I can do this, and then if I check the variable here like this, print variable, I'll get the value as 1, 2, 3, because now this variable is having the value of 1, 2, 3. I can also use underscore. I can put underscore variable here, and then this would be having another thing, 2, 1, 3, for example. Yes, now I can put this as underscore here, and this will give me the value as 2, 1, 3. So either the alphabet or I can have the underscore for the definition of my variables. That's a very, very important rule. Second, about the numbers. Numbers can never be in the beginning, but can be at last. For example, now I would say variable 2. Yes, this is a valid entry. I can have 2, 3, 4 here, but I cannot have 2 variable like this. Can you see this? So 2, 3, 4 variable 2 is fine, but 2 variable, I'm going to say 4, 3, 2. Now this will give me an error saying that syntax error. Can you see? 2 variable is not defined, but variable 2 is fine. If I run variable 2 here, it is going to give me, I think variable 2 is not defined. I did not run it, but I think variable 2 is not. This should be fine. Variable 2 should be fine. Yeah, 2, 3, 4 is fine, but 2 variable will give me an error saying that it is not possible, stating it cannot have the variables likewise. Okay, syntax error. That's the second rule. About the numbers, numbers can never be in the beginning, but it can be at the last. Third rule is no special characters supported except underscore. So for example, I can have variable underscore name. I can have var underscore name underscore 1. So any flavor of underscore is fine. I can have underscore anywhere into my variable name. 1, 2. So this should be say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this should be again say 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's absolutely fine. So this is absolutely fine. I can run this. But the moment I start running like this, so var hyphen name, right? And I'm going to assign it to say 1, 2, 3. This will give me an error saying that syntax error, cannot assign the operator. So this hyphen is not supported. Can I write percentage? No, even this will give me an error. Can I write multiplication? No, even this will give me an error. So all of this is wrong. No special character is supported apart from underscore. Okay, that's my third rule. Fourth rule is it's pretty much case sensitive. Everything is case sensitive here. Suppose I write variable. This variable is having, say, my name Arpit. Another I have capital VARIABLE. Now this is having another name, say Jain. And I have another variable where only V is capital, everything else is small. And this has, say, 1, 2, 3. All of these three are three different things. Now if I print this small variable, I'll get Arpit here. And if I print this big variable, I'll get Jain here. And if I print this capital V and everything small, I'll get 1, 2, 3 here. It's pretty much the case sensitive variables. So everything is case sensitive here. That's how the variables are understood. That's how case sensitive it is. The last rule we talked about, we cannot have any keywords used for variables. For example, I write, say, break is equal to 10. No, this is not possible because it will give me a syntax error saying this break cannot be used. Wrong assignation, because can you see this? Break is turning green. It's a reserved keyword. Can I use try here? No, I cannot, because it's again a reserved keyword, turning green. So whatever turns green here is practically a reserved keyword, and it is not possible to use it as my variable initialization. So again, we have to keep this in mind. So these are the practical 5 rules, guys, in which we can define the variables in Python. Cool. So with this, moving ahead. Now, interestingly, in Python, we have another very good function called as the input function. And with the help of input function, we can take an external value to process. And also remember, by default, input function always converts, converts the data to string, always. How it happens? For example, now I'm going to say that write an input function, and in this function I want to write, say, enter your name. So now what I'm doing is, with this input function, I am asking the user to enter his name. If you run this, can you see this? I'm getting a prompt here which says enter your name and a dialog box. So in this dialog box, I can pretty much write my name, Arpit Jain, enter, and the moment I enter, this got fed. And obviously, since the value is getting identified, I can also store this into any variable as well. So the moment I put this name is equal to input, enter your name, I'll put my name as Arpit Jain, and then I say print hello, and then I put hello, and I say name. Can you see this? It is pretty much giving me hello Arpit Jain, because now hello is fine, and in this hello I'm also passing the second element, which is nothing but my name, and name is pretty much getting from this input function here. So hello is fine, it is a string, and then I'm saying name. Name is where I'm taking an external input. The moment I pass another name here, I'm gonna just pull it like this. Whatever name I pass, so suppose I say now in this case, say Rahul Kumar. So can you see this? Now I'm able to execute hello Rahul. And the moment I pass, say Virat Kohli. Can you see this? Hello Virat Kohli. So whatever I'm going to pass in this input function, that will be getting saved in this name variable. And that's how it helps to run your codes, guys. So the input function, it gives you the flexibility in which I can pretty much use an external value with the help of a user input here. So I can ask the user to write his own value, and this will eventually help to run whatever is required here in this case. So I can probably use whatever I need. So I can use any different variables to what I want to use it here. Okay, so that's pretty much what do we have in the input function. And I'll tell you one more thing. So for example, suppose I have multiple sentences. Say I want to take an input as subject 1. Okay, my subject 1, which is say input, enter your best subject name. Okay, input, and then I would say your marks, which is say input, enter your marks attained in that subject. Now I say print the sentence which says print, I want to say my favorite subject is comma, basically subject 1 comma, and I have got comma marks comma in it. So basically what I'm saying is I'm printing a sentence where I'm taking an input from the input function here. So can you see this? I'm entering the subject, which is say suppose maths, and I put 100 or say 90. Can you see this? So my favorite subject is maths, and I've got 90 in it. Can you see this? So this is how basically I am using this input function for under various purposes, right? So this is how input functions can be used, and I can use it for any different job. Cool, moving ahead. Interestingly, in Python, we also have some standard arithmetic functions. So first is by default the addition operation that is done using the plus operator. Second is subtraction that is done using the minus operator. Then we have the multiplication, which is again done using a star operator. Then fourth we have division, which is pretty much done using a division operator. So these are the standard arithmetic operations. I'm just going to show you. For example, I said 2 plus 2. Yes, 4. If I said 10 minus 5, that is 5. I can do 4 multiplied by 5, 20. I can do 10 divided by 2. I'll get 5.0. So all of this standard arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, it's very common. It's anyway can easily be performed on Python. It supports all of them. In fact, post this, there are 3 more functions, arithmetic functions, which are good here. Something called as floor division. It is defined using 2/6. Something called as exponential. It is written using double star, and then we have something called as modulus. This is nothing but defined as percentage. The floor division, if you remember, we talked about here in this case the quotient. This is nothing but the quotient, and this exponential is anyway the exponent, and here modulus is nothing but remainder. That's how we write it. So for example, let me want to show you. Suppose I want to divide 15 by say 8. So if I do 15 by 8, 1.875 is a true division, right? But if I do 15 by 8, my quotient is 1 and the remainder, which is 7 here, right? So if I simply write double /8, that means I'm talking about the quotient. That means the value is 1 here, the floor division. And if I put modulus here, I'll get as 7, which is nothing but the remainder when 15 gets divided by 8. So that's pretty much how modulus and floor divisions are used. And I can also use simple 2 double star 3, that means the exponent of 3, 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, that is nothing but 8 here. All of this is pretty much the simple arithmetic operations which can easily be performed on Python. It is pretty much available in Python. Okay. Moving ahead, now we also talked about the data types of Python. So we were talking about numeric data types, we were talking about string, we were talking about Boolean and certain advanced like list, tuple, dictionary, sets. So just want to quickly show you around as well. So first we have the numeric data types. So in this numeric data types, we also have something called as int and also something called as float. So how do we define that? Suppose I'm going to initialize a variable int var, which is nothing but 1. So anything which is integer, like a whole number. And then we talk about float. So say float var. This is nothing but with decimals. So 1.5, right? So int variable is suppose 1. Float variable is what? 1.5. So something with decimal here. So that's pretty much what we define as my float. And how do we check the data type for it? For that, we have a function called as type. I can simply call the type of int var, and I can also call the type of float var. Let's quickly check how does it work. In fact, I can call the print function on top of that. So print type of var and print type of float var. So I can do that. And can you see this? This int var is nothing but of class int, and this float var is nothing but of class float here. So that's how we define the numeric data types, integers and float here. The second is strings. So in this strings, we simply anything which goes under the quotes. So basically here we say anything which goes under quotes become string. So for example, say string 1. I could have my name here, Arpit Jain. String 2. I can probably have my, say, a number also as string. So suppose 100. So 100 technically is an integer, but the moment it is kept inside a quote, it becomes a string, right? Now, as always, let's quickly check the type of it. So type of string 1, and then I do print. If I do print type of string 2. Now, can you see this? Both of them are of class str here. Okay. So str is basically, I say that they both are of string categories. So even my name as well as the number, technically it should have been integer if I remove the quotes from this. Okay. The moment I remove the quotes, yes, now this become an integer, right? But the moment it is enclosed under the quotes, it is now getting identified as strings. Next is Boolean. The Boolean is nothing but true false. Okay. So now suppose that I have bool var, which is nothing but say true, and then I have another bool var 1, which is nothing but false. And if I check the print type of bool underscore var, or if I check the print type of bool underscore var 1, they both of them are from class bool here. Can you see this? So these are the logical Boolean operators, true and false, represented as simple true and false here. So these are my bool category variables. Simple. But interestingly, in Python, we have certain advanced data types as well. We have something called as lists, we have something called as tuples, then we have something called as dictionaries, and then we have something called as sets. Let's quickly talk about each one of them. So list is nothing but a collection of data types represented using square brackets. Also, it is mutable. That means once we have created a list, I can pretty much add, delete, update the elements. And it is heterogeneous. I can have any elements inside my list. These are the three broad properties of list. How can I define it? So I have a list 1 here, and list 1 is nothing but defined using a square bracket. And in this square bracket, I can have 1, 2, 3. I can have my name also, Arpit, comma Jain. They all are absolutely fine. And if I check the print type of my list 1, you will be able to see it is pretty much of class list here. There are a lot of other properties of list which we'll read with time, but that is how I'm going to define a list. So with a square bracket, I can have any element inside my list. The list can hold any particular element. Then we have something called as tuples. So tuples are defined using parentheses. And instead of being mutable, they are immutable objects. Once created, they cannot be changed. And here also it is heterogeneous. I can have any elements, but they all are immutable. Once created, it cannot be changed. How can I define this? So I have said tuple 1 here, which is nothing but defined using the parentheses. So 1, 2, 3, I have Arpit, I have Jain. Yes, I can do that. And if I check print of type of tuple 1, and if I see this, you'll be able to see the class tuple here. That's pretty much how tuples are defined using a parenthesis. Next come dictionaries. So dictionaries are nothing but key value pairs and defined using curly braces, and these are also mutable objects. Okay, I can edit the values from here. For example, how do we define it? So I have said dictionary 1, which is nothing but I'll define using the curly braces, and in this I have the key. So key is my say key 1, and it has value as 10, comma I have another key 2 which has values using 20, and then I have another key 3 which has suppose a string ABC. Absolutely fine. So basically here key and the value, they are written by separation by using a colon. So key and the values become one key value pair of my dictionary, and one dictionary can have multiple key value pairs. So this is my one key value pair, second is my second key value pair, and third is my third key value pair here. So I can have like this defined using the curly braces, and each one of the key value pairs separated using a colon, and key value pair together are separated by a comma. And then again, if I check the type of it, so print type of dictionary here, so we'll be able to see class DICT here. Okay, that's how dictionaries are defined. Sets are again defined using the curly braces, but this time it is going to be the unique values from a collection object. Everything unique will be present inside my sets here. So for example, how do we define this? So I have set 1. I'm going to put it like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, my name Arpit. And once you see this, if you print set 1 here, you will be able to see only the unique values 1, 2, 3 Arpit. Can you see this? It is only going to print the unique values. And also if you check the type of this, you'll be able to see it's a class set. So this dictionary and the sets, they both are represented using curly braces, but in dictionary it is going to be key value pairs, while sets are going to be my unique elements only. So that's a quick introduction towards the multiple data types we have in Python. So obviously each one of them will be having its multiple own properties, which we will be covering with time in details. Okay. Cool, guys. So this is what I intended to cover today. Any questions? I'm more than happy to take it. Hello, Rudra. Thank you for joining us. So guys, any questions? I'm more than happy to take. So guys, so I hope that makes sense to you, first of all. So, I mean, in Python is practically an ocean of things. I can keep on talking about each one of the concepts like for classes and classes going on, right? But we have to understand the logical interpretation of things. And I hope that makes sense to you. So these are my broad data types. And obviously, once we start using each one of them and try utilizing the properties of which in details, that definitely is going to help you. But this is how I am going to introduce the details here. That is how the different types of data we have, and that is how it is being practically used. Cool, guys. So with this, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up this video here. And I would want everybody to keep on practicing few more things so that things become more comfortable with you. Cool, guys. With this, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you so much for being patient and listening to me. And with this, see you in the next class, guys. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.